Everybody, welcome back. We're gonna do our final session of the day. I'd like to bring back and introduce Anna Livermore, founder of V.Mora. She will be going over the top 10 mistakes to avoid as a new designer. I highly encourage everybody to take notes. She has quite a wealth of information and some very pertinent thoughts about what to avoid. So very important information. I'd like to remind everybody that we do have a Q&A function, as well as we have our Facebook Live audience. So if anybody has any questions for Anna along the way, please include them either on Facebook or in the Q&A if you're here on Zoom, and we'll go ahead and address those at the end of her presentation. And without further ado, Anna, it's good to see you. Welcome back.
Hi, Jason. Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me as always. I don't think I can see the Facebook questions, so if you'll be able to help me with that at the end. I can only see the Q&A in the chat in the Zoom.
Yeah, I'll bring them in at the end.
Awesome, perfect. All right, so I'm going to screen share my presentation so that everyone, there we go. And perfect. All right, so I'm Anna Livermore. I own V.Mora. And at V.Mora, we help launch fashion designers. Everything from ground zero, you need a budget, you need help with strategic planning, to patterns and samples and fittings, to most recently, we opened up a photo studio. So we do invisible mannequins, we do full produced fashion shoots, and yeah, everything that you need from start to finish. And today we're talking about some common mistakes to avoid as a new designer. Hopefully you haven't made any of these, but if you have, it's important to know that it's okay. Part of owning a company and starting a business is making mistakes. You're never going to have a company from point A to completion where you didn't make a mistake and everything went perfectly. So it's okay to make mistakes, and it's important not to be too hard on yourself if you have made any of these mistakes. But if you're brand new and you haven't started anything, just take notes and make sure that you don't make these mistakes because they can be costly. So this is me helping with consulting and pattern development, samples, manufacturing, anything that you're going to need. I've been in business for 13 years. So within the 13 years, we've launched hundreds of brands. We also have a really strong network of vendors, fabric vendors, trim sources, labels, anything that you're going to need. We have very strong buying relationships with these people. So working with Femora, you're directly connected to those people, and it can, shave off years of having to build these relationships on your own. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. The first mistake you'll want to avoid is buying retail fabrics for wholesale products. So it's easy to go to a fabric store and buy the fabric that you're going to need to make your samples because it's readily available. You can buy a half a yard, you can buy 5 yards, you can buy whatever is available at the store. But the problem is once it comes to production, and you go back to that store because say you have a customer that's ordered 3 garments, or you have a boutique that's ordered 10, and you go back and that retail fabric is gone. So it's a common misconception that if you were able to find it at your local fabric store, that it's going to be super easy for you to find in a wholesale vendor, and that's not the case. A lot of these fabrics are made specifically for the retail customer, for the retail fabric stores, the Vogues, the Joanne Fabrics, even Mood in New York is a retail fabric store. And you want to be working with fabrics that have what's called continuity. So when you're working with a vendor, you can say, what's the continuity on this? And they'll tell you like, oh, it's always available. We always have stock, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll know that you can make the sample, show that sample, try and sell that sample, and then you can go back to that same vendor and they'll have that for your production. But if you go to a Mood or Joann Fabrics and you get a fabric, you make a sample, and then you think like, oh, well, it'll be fine. If I get any orders, I'll just go and find this at a wholesale level. It's not that easy. So the best solution here is you just want to go directly to a wholesale vendor for your fabrics, for your samples. You don't want to be buying anything at a retail level, even though it's easier, it's more convenient. It's not setting yourself up for success in the bigger realm of things. So wholesale vendors for fabrics, there's trade shows like this that will connect you with vendors, online platforms. There's a lot of ways that you can be connected with wholesale products, but you'll want to spend the time to make sure that what you're buying for sampling, you'll be able to buy for production. And buying that retail fabric, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to find that at a wholesale level, nor will it still be available when you go to make production. All right, number 2, cutting corners when it comes to pattern making. I've been saying for over a decade, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't sell, period. I don't care if you've spent hours hand beating this garment to make it, beautiful, and it's the most gorgeous piece that you've ever seen. Someone puts it on and it doesn't fit, it doesn't sell. So when it comes to pattern making, it's really, really important that you're working with an experienced pattern maker. And not only an experienced pattern maker, but someone that has experience making patterns in your specific type of garment. Is it activewear? Is it swimwear? Is it, a lined jacket? Is it jeans? All of these patterns have different sets of rules. If you're making lingerie, it should be a different pattern maker than you're going to make a pair of pants, because there's different techniques. So you'll want to be sure that you're working with a pattern maker that has experience in your specific type of product. Pattern making is the one place that if you get an intern to make your patterns, you're going to have intern level patterns. You get what you pay for when it comes to pattern making. And this is the step that I really, really feel strongly about. You need a professional. You need someone that knows what they're doing, because it's the core basis of your entire collection. And not only that, for season to season come, because you'll use these same patterns to alter, add a sleeve, take off a sleeve in your next season. You'll want a strong pattern maker to create these kind of blocks, as we call them, for your patterns, so that it fits your customer the way you want it to fit, and that you have this kind of foundation set up so that any garments you make from these patterns from here on out will also fit well. So don't cut corners when it comes to pattern making. If you're going to make your own patterns and you've got 20 years experience, you've mentored under pattern makers with more experience than you, or you've worked at a larger company as a pattern maker, great. If you're trying to figure it out, say you went to school for fashion design and you have like a small basis around pattern making, you can find pattern makers to check and correct and confirm your patterns before you go into production, just to make sure that they're perfect. These patterns have to be perfect before you go into production, because if something's off in your patterns and it goes into production, your entire production, you'll be sitting on it and you won't be able to sell it. So it's super, super important that you spend the money with an experienced pattern maker. Number 3, not budgeting accurately for production. This is it's a scary one, right? Because you're on a shoestring budget and you don't want to think about it, right? You don't want to think about how much money it actually takes for you to invest in your production start to finish. You've got your patterns, samples, digitizing, grading, size check run, top of production, and then your production. And you'll want to make sure that you have enough funding to see yourself all the way through all of those steps. Because let's say you get to the samples and you're not able to digitize and grade your patterns, then all of the work that you've done up until that point is for nothing because you're not able to see your project through. So as creatives, it's really hard to think about finances and money and how much you're going to be putting into this, and not everyone has the brain for numbers, especially creatives, but it's super important that you just sit down and you realistically put together a budget from start to finish so that you're prepared and you can follow through to production and then sales and then make money. Number 4, changing your mind and neglecting to make final decisions. So as a new designer, I see this a lot in fabric sourcing. So when you're sourcing fabric, what you really want to be clear on is, am I not moving forward because I'm afraid? Because when you're buying your sample fabric, this is the very first time that you have to spend money on your collection. Before this, it's all been an idea. So what it looks like a lot of times with the V.Mora clients is they can't find the perfect fabric, or all of a sudden they're gonna make a white button up instead of children's wear, and their mind keeps changing and they're not making decisions and they're not, writing that PO and getting those orders made. And what's really happening is that it's fear. It's fear of actually spending money and taking that leap and investing in yourself and your company. The other time I see it is right before production. So right before production, you've spent all of this time and money on your samples and your fabrics, and it's time to go in production. You haven't made any money yet. So all of a sudden, something isn't right, or you want to fit something differently or add a new style or take out a new style, and this spinning starts happening again. And you want to be self-aware enough to know, like, okay, is this just fear? Is this me being afraid of moving forward? Because if you've done all of these steps and you've taken you have made the right choices along the way, your production is like, you're almost done. Again, just take that leap. Something that helps too is creating a mood board up front so that you have something to go back to remind yourself, what you're doing as a designer, who your customer is, because as you're building your brand, everybody's going to have a different opinion. Everyone's going to tell you what they want in your collection. And it's important for you to stay on brand, stay clear, and continue to move forward and not let fear hold you back from making these decisions and moving forward in your launch. Number 5. And if there's anyone here on the call that hasn't taken this, that has made this mistake, you'll know how heartbreaking it is, because there's nothing worse than having a full production and then finding out that when you iron it, the fabric shrinks up, that you can't have heat on it without it shrinking too much, and then it's unwearable. The screen testing. So for screen prints, they all have to be put on the fabric at a certain temperature, certain weight, because it can suck out the color. Like, say I put a heat transfer on here, it could suck out the color on the square where the heat was applied. It could burn the fabric. All of these things you should do prior to production. So anything that's going to happen to your production due to your sample, dry cleaning, ironing, everything, washing. Sometimes it could be, you have a button and it's red and your clothing is cream, and when you wash it, that red bleeds and it ruins the garment. As heartbreaking as it is to have a sample ruined because you love it and it's pretty and you can't wait to wear it and you want to show it to people and you want to use it in a photo shoot and it's great, you'll want to test it, because you'll want to know now that you need to change that button, that you need to possibly pre-wash that fabric, that you'll need to figure out what the press needs to be for that heat transfer. You'll want to know in the sampling, not in the production. So make sure that you're doing everything that is going to happen to your production, that your customer is going to do to your garment once they have it in their hands in the sampling process, so you know how that garment reacts. Number 6, skipping tech packs. So tech packs are the blueprint of what your production is expected to come back to you like. It has the measurements, the spec measurements of the sleeves, of all of the garments. It has where the label gets sewn. It has where the embroidery goes. It has how the seams are sewn. It has all the information that is needed for your production to come back perfectly the way that you want it. And this is the tricky part. A lot of factories will tell you, no, 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 no. Don't worry, I don't need a tech pack. The reason being is then there's nothing in writing to hold them accountable for what you are expecting. So even if you're told you don't need a tech pack, do a tech pack. It is for your own protection. It is better for you to have tech packs. Even if the factory says, no, 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 don't worry, we don't need it. If that thread comes back, it's pink instead of blue, but there's nothing in writing anywhere that shows your factory what you are expecting back from them, then you can't hold them accountable to have that fixed. Number 7, planning a fashion show, a trade show, a selling event before you talk to your factory on their deadline. The fashion shows, the trade shows, the selling events, the pop-up shops, like those are the fun things. Those are the things that we're all excited about that you want to get to right away. However, if you haven't put together a realistic timeline and you are going to a trade show, and then all of a sudden you're not going to have samples for a trade show, you're out all of that money that was invested, and the booth and the travel and the hotels and all of that. So it's just so important to put together a very realistic timeline and add a cushion. If your factory tells you that they'll be able to make samples in 6 weeks, add 2 weeks to that. You just want to be safe. You don't want to have this big event planned and not have your samples. And in the beginning of my career, you know, like I said, I've been at this since 2008. I would get phone calls and be like, I have a fashion show. It's on Friday. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need my garments. I planned all of this. I've done all of this. And my manufacturing fell through. And like, please, 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 please help me. And I would do it because I wanted to save the day and I wanted to help you and I wanted to make sure you had garments for the runway. But what would happen is I wasn't given enough time to give you those perfect samples because everything was rushed. And then sometimes the fabric wouldn't come in time and I would let you down. So now if I don't have enough time to guarantee that I'm gonna be able to hand you exactly what you need and it's perfect, I say no. I say, I'm so sorry, but I'm not able to help you within that time frame because of my experience, because I know no one wins when something's rushed and you know you have a product that isn't perfect, but you know me and my staff have worked overnight sometimes to get that to you, and it's the best that we could do with the time that we had. So no one wins. So it's really important that before you plan a trade show or a fashion show or a pop-up shop, that you have talked to your factory, you have your goods ordered, you have a reasonable timeline with cushion to get you there. And this is not setting realistic timelines. So again, this comes down to making sure that everybody, yes, you want to have your samples and you want to sell for spring or fall or whatever it is, but you want to set yourself up for success. You'll want to make sure that you have time to source all of your goods, especially now because shipping's taking a little bit longer. Factories are backed up. So you'll want to set realistic timelines to make sure that you can launch when you're planning to launch. You don't want to spend all this time and then miss the whole selling window for spring. So set realistic timelines, talk to your factories, your pattern makers, make sure that everyone has enough time to get you a perfect production. I would say for a new designer, you want to plan at least 9 months to 12 months in advance. That's crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but if you're taking all of the steps and doing everything the right way, it will take you that long to launch a clothing line, including production and lining up the right resources and finding the right fabrics and zippers and linings. All of that takes time. So it's important that you are realistic with that. 1 month of coaching. So if you're interested in working with me personally about any of these topics, any of the strategy, putting together a plan, I offer a one-on-one coaching for $2,000. You can contact V.Mora inquiry at V.Mora.com. But I don't take a whole lot of one-on-one coaching clients. Just enough that like I have enough time to really get you guys where you need to be. We also do production management and startup coaching if you're interested in that. And I have a blog on my website that has all the steps to production, and I'm putting it out weekly. So if you're looking to learn, you're looking to have someone bring you through the steps of production, keep an eye on my website, vmora.com, or join my mailing list as well. All right, so 9, not thinking all the way through to marketing and photo shoots. Most of the time it costs money. Unless you've got connections to the photo world, photographers, models, hair and makeup, you will have to invest in a photo shoot. Location, marketing, are you working with a marketing company? Are you doing Instagram? What's your website look like? All of this, just because you create a product doesn't mean it's going to sell. You have to get that in front of people. You have to get it so people see it, where they know to buy it, and that takes some planning and some funding. So you don't want to spend all of your money in production and product development and then have nothing left for your photo shoot or your marketing strategy. Rule of thumb, I say about 30% of your all-in budget should go to marketing, website, and photo shoots. So if you've got $100,000, $30,000 of that should be dedicated to marketing. Whatever your budget is, you'll want to set some aside in the beginning for marketing and photo shoots. Number 10, this is our last one. Not being mindful and considerate to everyone you meet in the industry. So surprisingly enough, it's a pretty small industry. And if something goes wrong, you want to handle yourself with grace and dignity through that, whatever happens. Just because that factory knows other factories. I'm close with my competitors. The designers themselves talk, the vendors talk. So you want to enter this world of the fashion industry with just being the best version of yourself, being kind to others. It used to be cool that in the fashion industry, everyone was mean and bitchy and you could get away with it because it was fashion, but it's shifting, it really is. And these factories work together, these vendors work together. And if, there's nothing worse than getting all of your stuff and it's not sewn. Like a big red flag is you take your production to another factory and it's incomplete and started. They're gonna wanna know what happened with that last factory. So just being super mindful and kind, even though a vendor might not be the right vendor for you right now, they might have the connection for you and be able to provide you with a name of someone. This designer who you're talking to at a trade show, might know the perfect button vendor or might be able to help you later down on the line. It's all about organic networking, getting to know people, being kind to people. And, if you're burning bridges, you'll run out of people to work with pretty fast. So this is important as well. All right, so that's all that we have for today, but I see that we've got some questions from people here. So I'll go ahead and go to the Q&A box. I have my question in the chat. All right, I'll go to the chat. Okay, First question, how do I know how to put budget together? I have no idea what the ballpark it is in budgeting. What is the minimum, 500 or 1,000? How do we start? So yeah, this is a good question. You know, I work, like I said, I work one-on-one with clients in providing an all-in budget. There is no right or wrong answer to this. It's not, you know, you need X amount of dollars. It depends on what you're launching. It depends on how many styles you have. It depends on your marketing strategy. It depends on so many things. Are you creating things in leather or using cotton? So there's no right or wrong answer. I do have a template. I do have something that I run through with designers. I have enough information in my head to get you close enough to where you need. But yeah, I guess my answer would be find a professional, find someone that's done it before to help you build this budget. What is your approximate cost to create a brand in Canada and approximate cost to start up cost for approximately 5 to 8 items? Hope this is not a big question, with gratitude. So again, this is the same thing. Like, I don't know what those items are. Are we working in ball gowns, wedding gowns, or are we doing t-shirts? So I get this question all the time. I wish I had like the magic answer for you guys, but I don't. It really just depends. I've seen designers spend, you know, you do need money to start a company. You will have to pay for patterns and samples and cost of goods and digitizing and grading and production. Like, you'll need money for that no matter what. And, you know, but then you can spend $10,000 on a website, or you can spend $1,000. You can spend $500 a month in marketing, or you can spend $50,000. No joke. So it really, it varies so much. But if you're interested, I can help you build a plan. I'm gonna put in my email in the chat box so you guys have it. All of those. Jason, I'm sure you give out my information as well, right?
Yeah, well, not yet, but I did include the website. Somebody had asked about that, so I created the link in there as well.
Perfect. Okay, can you share your website? Do you only assist in apparel design, or do you also assist with accessories such as handbags? Yes, handbags, I do. Anything that is sewn goes into a machine. I have done some jewelry and accessories. So yes, on the handbags. Okay. I want to start up a line, but I know the business part. Can you help with starting from material finding who will make it? Yes, so that's exactly what I do. We've got a strong network of vendors, from fabrics to buttons to zippers to everything you're possibly going to need. And then we can do your patterns and your samples and align you with a manufacturer, whether it's domestic or offshore, and help manage that production. Who is the best wholesaler for fabric? There are millions. There are so many vendors for fabric. Do you have a list, Jason, of fabric vendors?
If everybody goes for the virtual show, if everybody goes to the virtual landing page, and I'll go ahead and post a link here in a second, it's how you access everything for the virtual show. There will be a list of all 3 rooms. We have one for the China pavilion, one for the India pavilion, and one for all the other ones. And I'll go ahead and make a little announcement at the end of all the Q&A on how that whole thing works.
Right. Where is your email located? My email, Anna, A-N-N-A, @vmora.com. But I also put it in the chat box. But you can also go to my website, V.Mora.com, V as in Victor, M-O-R-A, and you can contact us that way. Do we have any questions in any advice for best tactic approaches on getting funding to help small businesses? I can honestly say that the best way is to present yourself professionally. I help designers come up with a business plan, a forecasting, a full budget, how much you need, What's the return? You know, you've got to take yourself seriously. If you've got all that together and you're looking for funding, the SBA, there's iFund Women, there's a lot of grant programs out there. But if you're looking for an angel investor, I'd say 100% of all my designers that have had an angel investor have had a personal relationship with that person, whether it's family or friends. They've got to have some reason to want to invest in you as a fashion designer, because if it's just a regular investor looking to make money, they're looking to invest 100 grand into a business. Unfortunately, fashion doesn't have the fastest turnaround. The tech industry has a faster turnaround. You know, there's industries that have a faster return. So if it's someone just looking to make money, they usually invest in something other than the fashion industry. It's commonly known that for a return, it could take 3 to 8 seasons on the initial investment. So if you're looking for funding, crowdfunding is great too. Kickstarter, I've had clients have a lot of success on Kickstarter. Yeah, so I think that's my tips on funding. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone else have any other questions? Are there any questions on the Facebook? I can't see them.
Let's see here. 1 second. Just answering a question. None from Facebook.
Okay. We got 2 more in the Q&A box. Does your firm do pattern making and creation of tech packs? Yes, 100%. I started my company as a pattern maker 13 years ago. I now have a pattern maker. I don't make patterns anymore, but that's the backbone of V.Mora, is creating patterns and samples and tech packs and manufacturing. What is the best way to go about creating a swimsuits company, and where to source all these vendors, manufacturers, without using AliExpress, etc.? Yeah, just doing exactly what you're doing, attending trade shows, talking to, you can always hire someone like me to align you with the manufacturers and the materials and the sourcing that you'll need. If not, you'll have to just do it on your own, go to these trade shows, network, talk to people. You'll need to find a pattern maker that's specific in swimwear. You'll have to find the right fabrics that can be in chlorine. So there's a lot involved. It's not impossible, but yeah, you just want to do your research, align yourself with the right people, get advice where you can.
All right, I think that's all we have for the Q&A.
Great.
Yeah. Let's see.
How do I get in contact with you to discuss your patterns? V.Mora.com, V as in Victor, MORA.com.
And she did also post her email, so make sure to copy that, paste it, and go ahead and reach out to her directly. I highly encourage everyone to reach out and hire Anna. I mean, this is such a dense industry and so many aspects to it. It really helps to collaborate with somebody who knows the ins and outs of production, design, pattern making, all these things. You know, even if you're seasoned in what you do and you've been in business for a while, there's always something you can learn. And maybe there's something that you haven't considered, or a process, or a source maybe that you, or just getting a third opinion about how you're running your business. It's very, very valuable to avoid these costly mistakes. So Anna's been a big partner for a long time, and we can certainly say that she's very, very knowledgeable about what she does. So, okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. I would like to remind everybody that we do have our virtual landing page, which is essentially our virtual show floor. I just posted it there in the chat again. This is our last session for the day, so we're going to come back tomorrow morning. In the meantime, the show does run until 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I encourage everybody to visit the virtual show landing page to see over 100 plus exhibitors, manufacturers, and what you'll find in there is essentially the show office, which is where you can ask. Jamal, I know you were asking about certain suppliers. Our ATS staff is in there for the remainder of the show, as well as our speakers and partners. So it's a great place for matchmaking, live hangout, networking, meeting suppliers, meeting other attendees, but also make sure to contact an ATS representative if you're looking for sourcing a specific part of the world. We don't have that supplier in any of our rooms. We will certainly connect you and point you in the right direction, because we do have relationships with a lot of the trade organizations in these different manufacturing hotspots and sourcing hotspots as well. Also check out our 3 exhibition rooms. We have room number 3, which is featuring suppliers from China, room number 2 featuring suppliers from India, and room number 1 featuring suppliers from the United States, Canada, Portugal, Mongolia, Bangladesh, and Brazil. So without further ado, we're gonna see everybody tomorrow. And Anna, so good seeing you. I know we've been saying this for the last few, I've lost count of how many virtual shows we've done, but I look forward to seeing you in person someday.
We'll do this live again.
Yeah. So
thanks for having me. It's been great. And if anyone is interested in reaching out, you have my information, Anna@V.Mora.com. Thanks, Jason.
Take care, everybody. I will also be in the show office. So if anybody wants to head in there, I'll be in there for a little bit away as well if you have any questions. Bye, everybody.
All right.